The United States is often seen as a symbol of democracy and justice, built on the promise of equal rights for all. However, throughout history, the American justice system has been both a protector of freedoms and a tool of discrimination. Document 1 deals with the verdict sheet of President Donald J. Trump concerning his massive falsification. Document 2 represents the map of United States concerning state laws about LGBT rights. Document 3 talk about falsification of Donald Trump about the X-rated actress Stormy Daniels. Document 4 is an article about federalism. Document 5 is a caricature of the Supreme Court Clarence Thomas, and Document 6 is a graph concerning racial disparities in incarceration in the US. While its structure, based on federalism and the Supreme Court, is designed to uphold justice, its neutrality is often questioned. Political influences, controversial rulings, and systemic bias have raised concern about its ability to guarantee true equality. This leads us to question to what extent does the American justice system warrant equal rights in the US. First, we'll look at the American justice system, then we'll discuss the controversy surrounding equal justice. Firstly, federalism is still a central pillar of the American political system, proof of its resilience and effectiveness. It enables states to adapt their laws to local realities while maintaining a common national framework. As Martin Diamonds explained, this model favors flexible governance and preserves freedoms by avoiding an over-invasive social power. This is clearly seen today in the diversity of LGBT rights laws. Document 2. Some states have adopted advanced protection while others remain more conservative, illustrating this regional autonomy. However, this model is an old one and raises questions about its relevance to today's challenges. Alexis de Tocqueville was already talking about it in the 19th century, praising federalism's ability to delegate secondary matters to the states. But at a time of widening inequalities between states, particularly as regards fundamental rights, we may well wonder whether this system, designed for an America under construction, is still adapted to an increasingly interconnected society in search of equality. Moreover, the Supreme Court SCOTUS reflects a certain social diversity with justices from different backgrounds and identities. There are women, African Americans like Clarence Thomas in Document 5, and more recently, an Hispanic magistrate, Sonia Sotomayor. This shows a desire for openness and representation in the country's highest judicial body. However, this impression of equality needs to be qualified. Not all presidents have had the same weight in the court's compositions. Donald Trump appointed 3 justices in a single term, while Barack Obama was only able to appoint 2 in 8 years, showing an imbalance depending on political circumstances. What's more, with judges appointed for life, the court is becoming an genuine institution, sometimes out of touch with modern realities, as suggested by the caricature of Clarence Thomas in Document 5, criticized for his link with influential donors. So, even if the American system, with its federalism and Supreme Court, seems to guarantee a certain equality and protection of rights, we quickly realize that this neutrality is in fact very relative. Certain court decisions and situations show that not all citizens are treated equally. That's why we're now going to look at the limits and controversies of this neutrality, thoughts, recent example, and minorities still as at a disadvantage. First of all, the case of Donald Trump perfectly illustrates the limits of the neutrality of American justice. Indeed, as document 1 shows, the former president was found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying accounting documents, mainly in connection with secret payments made to Stormy Daniels to protect his 2016 presidential campaign, document 3. Yet, despite the seriousness of the facts and the large number of charges against him, the punishment remained highly symbolic. No imprisonment, fines, or special restrictions were imposed on him. This shows that in the United States, even if justice is independent in theory, in practice, the most powerful political figures can escape real sanctions. The verdict, therefore, seems more like a warning than a real condemnation, especially as it has not prevented Donald Trump from pursuing his political career and returning to power. This raises questions about the real effectiveness of justice and the difficulty of applying the same rules to everyone, especially to major political figures. Moreover, in the United States, minorities are often the victim of discriminations. This is true of LGBT people, whose rights vary widely from state to state, document 2. Some states still prohibit adoption by same-sex couples, while others restrict the right of transgender people, particularly in terms of identity and medical care. Ethnic minorities are also disadvantaged. Document 6 shows that African Americans are vastly overrepresented in US prisons, with much higher incarceration rate than whites or Hispanics. This situation demonstrates the inequality that persists in the American justice system. Finally, certain political leaders reinforce these inequalities, such as Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in document 5, known for his conservative positions and his criticism of rulings that protect civil rights. Thus, the United States, a country that presents itself as a model of freedom, remains marked by the strong discrimination against minorities. To conclude, despite its image as a free and democratic country, the United States has many limitations when it comes to equality and justice. With a former president accused of multiple crimes but never actually punished, and minorities still victims of discriminations and inequality. The American model appears highly contested. The United States remains a country where freedom often depends on one's origin, wealth, or sexual orientation. This raises the question, can the USA still be considered a universal model of democracy and justice?